Now, the amount of tax you pay next year could be changing.
Yeah, this is after the IRS made its annual inflation adjustments earlier this month and updated the tax brackets for 2026.
Here to tell us what this means for you is Investopedia's editor-in-chief, Caleb Silver. So, Caleb, the IRS says a lot of these amendments are due to the tax and spending bill passed by Republicans earlier this year. How are the tax brackets changing next year? What are some of the most notable changes?
Yeah, well, the big change is the 2.7% increase in the brackets here. So what the IRS does every year is try to adjust those brackets for inflation, because if you're basically earning the same amount this year as you do next year and you accidentally creep into a higher bracket, that shouldn't be fair to taxpayers. So they increased that by 2.7%. That's significant for folks who are trying to keep up with inflation. If you get a raise next year and you're filing those taxes for 2026, you may not end up in the higher bracket if you don't exceed that 2.7% threshold. But there's some other key provisions here that they made changes to. The standard deduction for 2026, that rises to about $32,200 for married couples filing jointly, $16,100 for single filers. That's about a $350 increase for single filers or a $700 increase for couples. But just think of it this way: if you don't get a raise next year, you might not end up in a higher tax bracket. You might end up paying less taxes. And there's some other key provisions that the IRS made here.
Caleb, let's talk through some specific scenarios. Somebody's salary changes by increasing, and then let's talk through the others. It stays the same or it decreases. How do these tax brackets impact people?
Yeah, good way to look at it is if you make $100,000, right, and you're trying to avoid bracket creep here, and you didn't get a raise in the following year, you might stay in actually a lower tax bracket. So if you do get a raise, if you get a raise that exceeds that 2.7%, you might end up in a higher tax bracket and have to pay a higher income tax based on your alternative minimum tax. A little bit complicated, but the big thing to remember here is that if there's no change to your salary next year, you might not end up having to pay higher taxes. You could end up in a lower bracket. And the standard deductions are super important. A lot of people take the standard deduction instead of itemizing their taxes. That's at $32,200 for married couples filing jointly in 2026, $16,100 for single filers. Again, a little increase there, and then changes also for the estate tax. If you die or if somebody in your family dies, that went up in terms of the non-taxable amount to $15 million, where you can pass that on to your heirs. That's up from about $13 million this year. $13.9 million.
So just big picture here, who are the winners, who are the losers? And we do still have a couple months left in 2025, so anything we should be doing now to keep on top of our taxes ahead of filing next year?
Yeah, so this is all again for 2026, so you wouldn't be filing these taxes until April of 2027. But if you are considering a change in your income, taking on another job, and it knocks you into a higher tax bracket, you should consider how you get paid very carefully. You don't want to wind up in the 37% tax bracket if you exceed those thresholds. That said, if your salary goes down, you could very well end up in a lower tax bracket. So know your brackets, know where you fit, and know if you're going to take the alternative minimum tax. A lot of folks choose to do that. Those numbers went up as well. Almost all the brackets went up a little bit. So it's a break for most taxpayers, but it is a break considering the fact that there's inflation, and inflation is right at around 2.8% as well. So this kind of evens things out for taxpayers. Big change here, though, for small businesses. They can offer a bigger tax credit for childcare to their employees. That's one of the big changes in the big, beautiful tax bill.
All right. Know your bracket. I feel like Caleb should have a T-shirt that says that.
Yeah, I like that.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.